Hi, it's Lisa with Ink and Inspirations with a card making idea and a layering tip coming at the end of this video. So today we're starting off with a color and contour bundle from Stampin' Up! With these beautiful dies. And we're going to start with a card base of pale papaya, 5.5 by 8.5, and we're going to fold it over and give it a good crease with a bone folder. So in starting with this, I wanted to do a background layer of pale papaya, and so I have textured it with the Tasteful Textures dies and my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I've already done that, and I'm going to apply my ribbon first so that this layer can go down and the ribbon won't show on the inside of the card. So I am just going to put a little strip of adhesive. You can see that the ends of the ribbon extend over the left side of that card layer base, and I'm putting a little bit on the back too, and that'll keep that in place while I'm working with it. So instead of tying a bow or a knot on this one, I'm cutting a piece of our linen thread, and I'm just going to tie it around those two ends there for a different ribbon element. So I'm doing a knot, and then I'm going to tie a bow. And then I can trim those edges later if I want to, and just give it a good tight squeeze there. So those are a little long, so I'm going to go ahead and trim some off and make that done. Okay, so now we can go ahead and apply that to our card base. I'm using liquid glue, which usually works better when you have a textured card base or a layer that you're applying to your card base. And so now we have that ready to go, and we can work on some other elements of our card. So I've decided these ends are a little too long on this ribbon, so I'm going to trim those off. And now I think I'm ready to go with it. So next I've cut a piece of the Pansy Petals designer paper using this pale papaya check, and I'm going to apply that with some liquid glue. I just love those scalloped rectangles in those contours labels dies. And I'm going to work with this and put the main image and sentiment there over top. So you can see how I justified that to the left, and I have another label from that same die collection, and I'm going to stamp the sentiment in pale papaya. So I'm going with basically a monochromatic card, and I'm going to add just a pop of color for some interest. So I'm just deciding how far to put it away from the edge. It's about 1/2 inch from that 4 by 5 1/4 layer that I textured, and I can use liquid glue and adhere that down. So continuing on, I'm going to take this daisy from the set and stamp it in magenta black ink. And I stamped off first on scratch paper, and now I'm stamping on my basic white and going to do the same with this leaf stamp. So we're going to apply some color here. So I'm using my Stampin' blends. I have light Daffodil Delight I'm using in the center of the daisy, and then light Soft Succulent that I'm using for the leaves. And I'm just coloring very simply. Coloring book coloring is like I like to call it. And now I have light pale papaya for the petals of the daisies. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fussy cut this particular daisy out because I want those petals separated a bit so that it stands out a bit more on that gingham check. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it off from the big piece of basic white, and then I can just cut around it, moving my paper and just guiding my snips along the edge. And you notice I never really close the snips all the way. I'm going about halfway down into the blades and just turning the paper and cutting as I go. I find that I have the best result with this. And many times I will leave a little white border around the edge, but for this particular card, I decided to keep it as close to that Mento Black stamped image as I can. And so here I'm just going around each petal, and I just find fussy cutting a lot of fun to do. Of course, we have dies that could cut out a lot of our images, but for this one I wanted these petals to be separated and really stand out from that background. So as I finish up here, I'm going to just move my scraps out of the way, and we are going to start applying these to our card base. So on this one, I'm just deciding to put it at that upper left corner of the sentiment, and I'm going to take these leaves and just put a little liquid glue and adhere it behind that daisy flower. And I'm going to put some more liquid glue behind there and just apply that right there in that upper left of the sentiment on the check. So I'm going to use these beautiful in color gems and just add a little bling. So I'm going to get my an old paper piercing tool, and I believe this color here I'm using is the soft succulent gems on this in this collection. I'm just going to scatter 3 like that, and these are just absolutely gorgeous. So now I've decided that I need something else, and so here is a little tip for layering that I did as an afterthought. So right there, it just needed some more of the soft succulent. So I cut another one of those dies, and I'm trimming off those scalloped edge right there. And I'm just going to put a little bit of liquid glue. And I didn't put glue beneath those scallops, so I can just slip that right underneath there and add that little bit of color, which to me makes all the difference, and I hope you agree. So be sure and follow the link in the description to my website, where I'll have all the details for this card. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.